Okay, thanks everybody for tuning in to another episode of Wake Set Go. I'm your host, Mercedes, digital marketing consultant, and I'm here today with Johanna Voss. She's joining us live and direct from Denver, Colorado.
That's right.
So today, our episode, we're going to talk about a little bit about what Johanna does. She's an influencer talent manager, and hopefully she helps us to learn how to stay motivated in this influencer driven world, as well as figuring out the key to getting some brand deals. And I'm sure it's going to be tons of information that you're going to be able to share with our listeners. So I'm looking forward to it, and I just can't wait to chat with you. So I'm excited to have you here. So, woo! I wonder if I can
Yeah.
insert the claps. I haven't used the claps before, or maybe I won't do it just yet. But claps.
Well, I am pumped to be here, excited to chat about all the things, motivation, influencer marketing, like all of it. Let's do it.
Let's do it. Yeah. So WakesetGO, I know when we first chatted, I was telling you it's all about charging up the CEO in you. And like a lot of listeners at home, people have been hearing about being an influencer. And I know that that can be daunting. So I want to know, like, can you tell us a little bit about like what you do, what gets you fired up,
Yes.
what
Yes.
charges up the
Yes.
CEO in you to be
Yes.
the great influencer manager that you are?
Thank you.
And, just tell us a little bit about that, like about what you do, like what your day looks like and everything. So
Oh
let's dive
gosh.
right in. Yeah, I
Okay.
know. We may have
Yeah.
to
Well,
save that part for the end. Yeah, but
that's
just a
okay.
little bit of what you do, I guess. We can start there.
So I was going to say, because there is no typical day, so that's a very easy question to answer. Very short. Okay, so what do? I'm an influencer talent manager, which means my clients are all social media influencers. They are the people that you see on Instagram, on TikTok, on all the social media platforms, on websites, on their websites, basically anywhere in digital marketing who do brand ambassador partnerships, brand collaboration. So they are serving as a spokesperson for a brand, creating content for them on their platforms, on the brand's platform. I do all the negotiation. So anytime an inbound inquiry comes in and a brand is like, hey, we're Pepsi and we're interested in working with you, Mercedes, and let's say Mercedes, you are my client, it would come over to me and then I would be the one who's like, great, tell me about the collaboration. What's the timing? How do you want to use the content? What do you want her to create? Give me the vision. What's the goal? Are we trying to get like new signups for an app? Is this brand awareness? Kind of just like, what's going on? Like what, why'd you reach out to her? What do you like about her content? Obviously, what's the budget if they're able to share it? Timing. I ask a ton of questions. Not all of them get answered. I should say that. Not all of them get answered. But just try to have a basic understanding of what the project is. And then back and forth, right? That's when the negotiation actually happens. Is like, it's very much a dance. It's a conversation. It's just like, back and forth. I feel like so often people feel like whenever they have an inbound inquiry and they're like, what do I say? As if they have one chance to respond with like the perfect answer. I'm like, no. It's literally, they're not going to tell you all the things you need to know to make a qualified decision. So you got to ask some questions. So I do all of that, get the agreement, redo the agreement, get it over to my client, get them to sign it, get the project brief, any sort of messaging, get the concept approved. And then at that point, I'm basically out of it and it's like over to the creator because they're doing their creative wizardry and I'm working on another project. Yeah. And then when they're done and it comes back and it's ready to go back to the brand for approval, then I get back involved. I'm the point person between my client, the talent, and the brand. So send it back to them, work back and forth on making sure it's approved. They follow the brief. If the brand's like, oh, can we cross post this to TikTok? And it wasn't part of the agreement, then I like nicely push back and I say no. Then I see it all the way through to sending the invoice and getting paid out on the project. That is probably like if an influencer manager does anything, it's that, which is closing deals. We work off commission. So like we're very connected to our client success of projects. But responding, being super responsive and just like, closing brand collaboration opportunities is probably like there's lots of other things we do. Like we're your cheerleader, we're your hype woman, we're your therapist. Sometimes we're your travel planner. We solve a lot of problems. But first and foremost, we do a lot of the negotiation and responding on behalf
That,
of our clients.
yeah, that really helps out a lot because I know with influencer marketing being a big thing and you actually being an influencer manager is like, what is that? And then it's, the next thing is like, how did you even think of
Yeah.
getting into that and actually being an influencer manager versus another type of manager? I don't want to speak for you either. I know you have like that answer, but I also am curious with you being in Denver. I know you talked about being like a travel agent sometimes, like where you're having to book their flights and stuff. So where are most of your clients located at?
They're all around the country. I do happen to have a client that is in Denver, just south of
Okay.
Denver, who happens to live very close to my boyfriend and one of my best friends, which is lovely that we kind of can like all I can see them all at the same time.
Right.
But they live all around the country. Like it really doesn't matter. That's what's so great about this industry is you don't have to be location specific for, my world and for a creator. You can, as long as you have the internet, good Wi-Fi, you're good to go.
Awesome. Yeah. So then how did you actually get into it to where you woke up one day and were like, all right, I'm going to be an influencer manager? Did it start with someone you knew closely that was like, hey, I need you to manage this or negotiate this for me? Or did you always know you had it in you to do sales and maybe you just were like, this should be something easy to transition into? Or did you even see influencer marketing taking off like how it is now where it's just
No,
the thing?
I
Yeah.
I wish I could say I was like some wise person who had this amazing foresight. Absolutely not. Uh I didn't even know it was a thing. I mean, I knew an agent and manager related to a sports person or like, an actress or something, like totally know that the role exists, but not in this world of influencer marketing. It wasn't when I got into it like nearly as big as it is now. So I've been working for myself since January of 2011. And the chapter of work that I was doing, like what my business was before having a talent management agency, is I was doing fractional COO work and strategy. So helping behind the scenes with small businesses, helping them sort of when they were already established, grow and kind of figure out like what their next chapter was, what does that look like? And so I was helping with that. And I had this 2-day, so I was on retainer with a bunch of clients, just basically like their operations person behind the scenes, keeping the show running, keeping the trains on schedule, etc. And this woman reached out to me. I had a 2-day strategy session intensive for someone who just needed another set of eyes and ears and needed help, but wasn't looking to hire like an actual person more consistently in their business. And this person is an influencer. Her name's Lorraine Laddish. She became my first client. So I went down there. I was like, okay, what do you do? And how do you do this? And how much do you get paid? And like, how does this work? And uh, I'd kind of been doing it for another client of mine without really realizing it. Like an operations client of mine, whenever stuff came in, she would just be like, Joanna, can you just deal with this? And so I'd be like, sure. So I was negotiating, like planning some speaking stuff for her. So Lorraine brought me down. We got along like a house on fire. Love that woman. When I left, she asked me to be her manager. And I said yes. Did not know what it was about. But a couple things. I love learning new stuff. Like it was so interesting to me to learn what she does and like about kind of like have a little peek in this industry. Uh I trusted my gut. My gut was just like, say yes. Like this woman's awesome. If this doesn't work out, like just knowing her is really good. Like I didn't really know how, but I just had this really good feeling about her. And then also I was like, you can always bet on yourself, Joanna. Like you're gonna figure things out. You'll find your way in this. Like you're good. So I said yes to her. She was on the side, didn't talk about it with anyone, like wasn't part of my website or anything. I was just like, oh, I'm helping this person. And then that grew through word of mouth. And I started to have a small little family of clients that I love. And a couple years into it, I thought, you know what? What if I just did this full time? Because it was so fun and like, why not give it a whirl? If it doesn't work, I'll just go back to what I was doing before with operations and stuff.
Right.
And so yeah, I just like 2018, I think, I wrapped up all my retainer clients and I just jumped full into the agency and haven't looked back. Love it. The irony is that I'm now actually getting back into fractional, like operational stuff. So I have picked up a client in that space, which is just like I love that my worlds are like things that I love so much and I'm really good at are like merging again in a way I never thought.
Yeah, I love how you said that you trusted your gut. And that's really big. I know, especially for my WakesetGO listeners out there, because it's motivation enough to know when to trust yourself, to know, okay, this is the right move for me and this is the right decision for me. And I need to take that chance
Yep.
and just try it. And you never know, with especially with it being something new, that you could be really good at it as well as enjoy it. And it can take
Yes.
you to so many places. And, look where you are right now. So I want to change up some of the questions back and forth in this interview style, because I was browsing and stalking your website a little bit. So
I like
I
that.
know,
I like that.
yeah. So I want us to do a little game where you do fact or myth. Okay.
Oh,
So
okay.
I saw that.
A little
Yeah.
rapid
So, all
fire.
right. Yeah. So, all right. So the first one that you're going to just tell me if it's like fact or myth is only people with a ton of followers get brand deals. Is that a fact or myth?
Myth.
Myth.
100%.
Okay. So I can pretty much be considered an influencer with a couple thousand followers, not like having a million followers or anything like that. You can negotiate some deals for me.
Yeah. There is no minimum number
Mm-hmm.
required. Lorraine, my client who became my first client, she had 19,000, which I thought was like, oh my God, that seemed like so many, and now people have 19 million, which is just crazy. And she was making six figures. So I actually think that I love the sweet spot of being under 100,000 for followers on Instagram, because there's just your engagement's still pretty good. You're still connected to your community, excuse me. You're probably still the one responding to DMs and like comments and stuff. There's just really still like that personal touch. To be an influencer, you need to have some expertise in some space. Having a large number of followers does not make you an influencer. Um, that's just fact, which I think gets a little lost in this space. But if you have, 3,000, 4,000 followers, and you are just like, your people love you because you deliver like amazing girls weekend budgets on like luxury experiences, but on like a girls weekend itinerary on a reasonable budget, or you're a mom, or you're someone who can get meals on the table for 15 minutes and under that are super nutritious, and like your kids eat vegetables. If you have established that you are really good in something, and that's why your people come to you and they follow you and they keep coming back to your content, because they're like, oh, what did Mercedes post today? Because she was gonna, she teased up that like Sunday dinner thing. So like, let me go see her post and like save it for my Sunday dinner. You're an influencer. Like, it means you're actually influencing and impacting people. And that's where a manager and an influencer has leverage to show a brand partner for any sort of collaboration opportunity. So it's not dependent on your number of followers.
Perfectly said. So that lets me know that it's good to also have a niche, like when you're posting, to just say, okay, this person is known for giving me good food spots, or this person is
Yep.
known for giving me good coffee shops, and just sticking to that so that people have you top of mind.
Yep.
And a market, like pretty much what they're doing is they're marketing to you. And so how does like a business quantify or measure that? So that could be the next factor myth. So is it a factor
Okay.
myth that it's difficult to measure influencer marketing, like the campaigns? Like how can it be measured? Like I know that there was the campaign that went viral where Snoop Dogg,
Oh, milk
yeah,
toast.
he said, I'm quitting smoking, and everybody was like making a big deal about it, because you go to Snoop Dogg and he's always doing his different deals, his things with Martha Stewart. And so then he comes back and he's like, it's a smokeless stove. And then months later, they're saying that the campaign didn't deliver the results that they intended. But my thing is that, okay, he's still an influencer. He still put the brand in front of millions of people
Yeah.
that would have never been that exact target audience. So you never know, because I mean, as a marketing consultant, I'm looking at it from all angles, especially if it was never, okay, about sales per se, but that brand awareness where
Right.
they're getting
Right.
new people. And with the time that it was launched, I think it was, around the winter time or cold months. Sometimes you may need to wait till when it's summertime, when people are
Yeah.
camping or something like that. And then they'll remember, oh, there's these stoves I saw Snoop Dogg talking about. And then you may see an uptick. But I mean, the fact that there was some firings happening, like, is that a factor of myth just regarding it being difficult to measure?
Myth.
Myth.
And I
Okay.
love that you brought up this example. Because I was just talking with some colleagues about this, how yeah, the news was like, oh, the campaign flopped, which is interesting because, as you said, if they were doing it for brand awareness and just raising the profile, how many people are, Google searching about the product, how many people are looking at their stuff, like increase in views and in their website and clicks on the website and stuff like that, it could have been a roaring success. But if you're
Right.
tracking it, in this case, it seems like they were tracking it for sales metrics, which didn't happen, then
Right.
it's considered a flop. So, there's a lot going on there. Like, he totally raised the profile of the company, but then, and I'm not saying this necessarily about the smokeless stove, but just things to consider as you're doing partnerships and measuring success. Let's say you are doing a partnership and you are wanting to sell a cute pair of shoes. And so you get a bunch of link clicks and people are like, "Ooh, I want those shoes. You look so cute. That's my size. That's my style." Like, yes, like they click on your stories or they use your code and they click over. But if they go to the website, let's say it's slow loading time, or the product, let's say the shoes are $40 and it's $50 before you get free shipping. So you can go to Zappos or Amazon and get them next day.
Right.
Um, like, there's so many other factors that will influence to buy. So the influencer, you or Snoop in this case, can get people to the products, can showcase, can put eyes on it. But it's also, a
Right. It's
marriage with
that
the
journey.
company.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's that buyer's journey where, okay, the user journey experience, like the top of the funnel is that social media post. And then if they're ready to buy, they may bookmark it. And if they keep seeing those kind of posts, and you never know when an event may happen and they may be in the market for a stove. But then that
Yeah.
also could put you in play where you may see another competitive, like a competitor where their website actually loads up, like you were saying, they actually give you a more discount.
They get free
Boom.
shipping. Yeah.
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 I have a client of mine who's in the travel space. And so she gets tons of saves and shares on her content. And
Mm-hmm.
we know that people are actually doing the itineraries that, go to, here's like a perfect long weekend getaway from Houston or whatever, right? And she'll like showcase some small
Right.
little towns, some cute places. We get anecdotal evidence from the bookshops, from the hotels, from the restaurants, from the coffee shops, that what she posted 4 months ago that someone saved because they have an upcoming bachelorette party or some college, girlfriends are coming in town to meet up again, they'll go in and be like, "Oh, my Curly sent us here. We saw this on my Curly," like her name is My Curly Adventures. "We saw this on My Curly Adventures content. It's like, we're so excited. We had to come visit." But we'll see that like 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 months down the road. So yeah, it's all just, is it hard to measure? No, but it's just how you measure and what you're using as metrics for
Yeah.
measurement.
Is that like a way that you negotiate them? Because some people may not see the value in marketing or social media where they're like, okay, you're just posting. And that goes to the next factor myth. Like, if brands are only after social posts, or like, what is it that they're really buying into? Like, I get it, like the influencer and the potential, or is it that they're looking for exact results right now at the time, or the potential of what it can bring? And it may not be right now, but do you always say like it could be 4 months from now when you're
Yes. Yes.
negotiating?
Yeah. So fact or myth, that's actually can be both based on, because you kind of asked me two different questions. So basically
Yeah.
both can be true, but it really just depends on, if a brand is looking for brand awareness, they're like, "Hey, we just want to get in front of some new eyeballs. We're expanding our store into Western Texas. So we're looking to connect with influencers that have an audience in Western Texas," or, whatever. There's lots of reasons. And they're looking for brand awareness. They're not expecting like sales or app downloads or new user signups, but they're just like, "Yeah, we just want to get in front of some new eyeballs." Great. My roster is like totally your people because they're really, really good at brand awareness. If they come in and they're like, "Oh, we're looking for conversions, we're looking for sales, we need X amount of pairs of shoes sold," um, there are talent that are really, really good at that, right? You and I probably follow people that are like, "Okay, outfit of the day. This is on sale at Madewell. These are from Nordstrom. If you go right now, use my code." Like, you're not looking to see how it's styled or what it's made of or three different cute looks you could do with it. You just know that if you go to their site, you generally like their style, you have the same sizing and fit, and you're like, "Ooh, I've been looking for a black t-shirt. So let me scroll through this person's thing and like Oh, there's one. Okay, I got a code, click buy. So those people convert really well. They're probably not your best for brand awareness. And then brand awareness people are not necessarily your best for converters. So it just always, I always make sure the campaigns are clear and like what their goal is to make sure everyone's set up for success.
Gotcha. Okay, so my last one. Do you feel like influencer marketing is a fad? And I know what you're going to say because I feel like I've been hearing about influencer marketing just way before a lot of things have just been buzzing off where everybody's just popping up that, oh, I'm an influencer. So
Yeah.
what is your
Yes.
answer with that one?
It is absolutely not. And the reason I say that is because influencer marketing and the surge of influencer marketing digital advertising is happening because everyone has phones in their hand. That's where the marketing is happening. That's where people are looking at ads, that's where they're absorbing content, and those phones are not going anywhere. So
Mm-hmm.
people's consumers and clients and customers are on literally on the phone in some way, shape, or form and are on some platform. So no, I don't think it's a fad.
Yeah, I agree. And also, I feel like the UGC is now taking over the user generated content on social media. And it's like a lot of brands are wanting that because I feel like people are able to connect more with non celebrities because it's
Yeah.
just so much more relatable. And I
Yes.
see sometimes in my research where people are actually even wanting to talk to more relatable people when it is time to be on a podcast because you see so many celebrities and you really don't know what's going on behind the scenes. But if you see someone that's just a day to day normal person, just outside of the aesthetic, it just makes you feel like, man, that person's just like me. Like I
Yeah.
can see
Real.
myself being them. So, do you feel like because so many influencers or there is a potential or space for those relatable, non aesthetic, non celebrity influencer, do you feel like it's oversaturated right now? Or how can someone stand out? Because I know that it's
Mm.
really popular to put your tripod up and go in Target and start
Yeah.
shopping. But can I, do that? Like, what can I do differently to make myself stand out?
Yeah.
If I'm ready to get
Um,
into it and yeah, a day in
I
the
don't
life.
think I don't think it's oversaturated.
Mm-hmm.
Um, It seems like it sometimes, but I don't think that it actually is. And you just think of the sliver of the internet the little slice of the pie is actually like the internet's just huge space in the global world. So, we just see a little sliver. So maybe it seems like we're all in the kind of same sandbox, but I don't think in the bigger picture that it's oversaturated, the market's oversaturated. To stand out, this is a great question because yes, it seems like everybody, because we all have these amazing phones with fantastic cameras right in the palm of our hand. It's so easy, right? Just to
Right.
like take a tripod and like, oh, let me just go film myself
Right.
shopping or whatever.
Right.
Um, so it does take more work to stand out.
Right.
How does your voice rise above? What I see and what I always come back to for my talent and any other talent roster that I'm giving feedback on is you are different because it's you. It's your perspective, it's your lens, it's your angle, it's your voice. So many people don't want themselves in the content for whatever reason. They don't like being on camera, they won't go on without hair and makeup, whatever the reason is. I think they're doing a huge disservice to themselves because that is how you differentiate yourself from amazing pictures of birria tacos. Well, how does yours stand out? Because it's you, it's your story, it's your abuela's recipe. This is how you got connected to it. These are the memories that it evokes in the kitchen when you make it. No one else has that story. And so that personal element is what will make you pop compared to others.
Yeah, because I see a lot of faceless brands that are taking off, especially with AI. And I know
Oh, yeah.
I see a lot of AI coming up where it's getting really good to where you can even use AI videos, AI voice to do stuff, but you're stuck on having that human perspective is really a good key point to getting a lot of those brand
Yep.
deals and taking over and standing out.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah. That's
Awesome.
what you gotta
So
do.
yeah. So how do I know, like, if I'm an influencer, like, and I know, like, okay, I'm not making any money right now from my social media, but how do I know when it's time to get an influencer manager? Do you wait until you actually get brands reaching out to you, or do
Yes.
you
Oh,
start reaching out when you're just starting out and you're like, okay, I want to do this, but I'm not making money right now. So when's the best time
yeah.
to say, hey, Joanne, I'm ready. Like, let's do this.
Yes. So the best time is when you are already making money. I
Mm-hmm.
look for influencers that are around 100,000 in revenue from paid collaborations. And here's why. We work off commission. If you are not making money, I am not making money. And if I am pouring it into you to help you build your brand, pitch, figure out your content, do some strategy, do some marketing planning, I'm not getting paid. And that is not a sustainable business model for any manager who is having an agency. It is a while before you are paid, even as a sustainable, like already successful content creator. It's, okay, it's February. They reach out to you now. Maybe content goes live in early March and end of March. And then you get paid net 45 at the end of March after your last piece of content goes live. So we're now talking that you're not going to get paid until May.
Wow.
So, and that's like on a good day because 97% of the time invoices are paid late. And we're always trying to track down payment. So and that's for people that are already like successful. Like I have clients that are getting paid now in February from holiday content. I'm still trying to track down payments from like September, October.
Wow.
That's just how it is. So all of this is to say, if you are not earning, like you have to be earning money to make this a sustainable business model, not just for the manager, but also for the creator. If you're,
Right.
let's say you earned 20,000 last year, manager earns 10%, 20% of that usually. So that's $4,000. Let's say I'm able to bump you up and negotiate a little bit more. So let's just say, let's just for easy numbers say 25,000. Well, I'm earning 5,000 of that. So you're back down to 20,000. It still just like doesn't totally math for an influencer to have a manager until they're earning money and we're earning money. The other element that we always look for, and part of the reason a lot of us look to have people that are already established, is it is a long sales cycle to get someone on a brand's radar. So you coming in and partnering with a new manager, the brands are already working on campaigns right now for the summer and for the fall and potentially even into the holidays. They're already 6-9 months out. So it just takes a while to like get on their radar. They could already have their talent figured out. And then maybe they're just like, oh, we already picked everyone for our Day of the Dead campaign, but we'll keep you in mind for next year. So it's just like it's a slow runway.
Mhm.
But if you're coming in, you've already done partnerships. Those are people that your manager can reach back out to and say, hey, just reintroducing myself. Let me follow up. Here's a media kit. Happy to chat. What do you got going on? Maybe I work with that agency. So I'm like, oh, Mercedes, I just work with your colleague, Daniela, on this other campaign, blah, blah, blah. Like, it went so great. I love working with your agency. Like, let's chat about what you got coming up. It just makes it a little bit easier for us to kind of like fold in and start getting things moving. When you have a ton of partnerships in your inbox and you're
Mm-hmm.
like, I already have so many that I'm doing that are, paid ones, and you're working on all those projects and you're like not getting back to people fast enough and you're missing paid opportunities because you have so much other paid work, that's a great time to reach out to a manager because they can take all of that off the plate for all the things that I was saying at the top of the interview.
Right. And that kind of leads me to my next question that I have for you, because I know like what you're talking about and saying, like it sounds like a very fast paced industry where things are always happening. You have to stay on top of things. So, how do you maintain relevancy and like give your clients, since I know you mentioned early on that you have clients that are, all over the nation, like how do you give
Yep.
them the fair share of your time and the experience they get with having a manager, as well as allocate those resources to them, since I know you're juggling a lot of different deals? Like how is it that you're utilizing like that relevancy of having those partnerships and relationships with those
Yeah.
brands that could be cross promoted? Like what do you feel like is how you pitch to them as well as pitch to those brands to give them the attention they deserve?
Yeah. Oh, that's a good question. So I'm able to do it and I'm able to do it well for a couple of reasons. One, I'm just like super organized and like very tight on my boundaries and how I spend my time. But I also have a very small roster. There's currently 6 people at the time of us recording this, and I probably, 1 or 2 more maybe, right? Because not everyone's having like their best moment in at the same time. I mean, if all my creators were doing 10% more work, 15% more projects, it would be like chaos. Like we would not be having this interview because I'm like, I gotta work on these projects. Like I can't. Um, so it's just an ebb and a flow. You kind of just like ride with it. The ones that have a ton of projects and work, I'm constantly talking to them. We're constantly emailing and calling and texting and hopping on calls and chatting through, okay, this concept. Okay, now how about this content? No, I got this project coming up. Are you free? Like, we're just always dancing very quickly between different things that are popping. And the ones that aren't, their time comes and then they'll have a pickup around a season or a week or a month. And like, it's just, it always kind of ebbs and flows like that. I do, it's also matching the creators where they're at. So if they're just like, Joanna, I got a ton of projects, I got a ton of life stuff going on, I don't have capacity for more. I'm like, okay, that's fine. And I will probably maybe back off pitching them a little bit or back off talking about them or just not be so like proactive about following up on stuff because they just don't have capacity. If someone is, hey, Joanna, I've got, here's a pitch list. Here's some ideas that I've had. Here are brands I want to work with. Here's the concepts I want to do. Here are examples. Like I have a whole spreadsheet for my creators to fill out. And so the ones that fill it out and keep that flowing with new ideas and more content, I'm like, all right, let's go. Like I'm pitching them, right? Because I'm happy to meet them and support all the work that they're doing. If a creator isn't engaging and sharing ideas with me, well, that's fine. I just won't be pouring as much into them because they're just not at capacity or not interested in doing that.
That makes sense. So what deal are you most proud of that you've been able to negotiate? Since I know that you, I'm not to put you on the spot, I know that you've worked with quite a bit of different influencers now, like under your belt. But which one are you like most proud about? I know it's gonna take a minute to think, so I'll give you a
I know.
moment.
We might have to come back to that. We have
Yeah,
to come back to
we
that.
can
We got to
we
think
can
about it.
definitely come back to it. And I want to also bring up, because like I said, after studying a little bit about what you do, and what actually drew me to you was that you have a very strong proposition towards helping influencers of color. So I would like for you to share your thoughts on why that focus is important and in helping influencers and managing influencers of color. Like, have you noticed the negotiations being a little bit different, like as far as leveling out that playing field of what people are willing to pay for? Because I've seen and heard about different
Mm-hmm.
studies where there is that pay gap. Or do you think because they haven't been represented, or there's also like with you having that job as like a manager to get them the best deal for, like, how do you pitch that too, especially when there's so many businesses, from what I've heard and seen, and of course just in life, where it could be like a last minute thought, like, oh, let me add in some diversity here. Like
Yes.
some companies, like they're not
Oh,
really leading with diversity, especially now. It's not a popular trend to have any diversity, equity, and inclusion anymore. It's like if you say that, it's like immediately like you're trying to cause separation. But why do you feel like it's important and to have those influencers that you're managing of color represented too?
oh gosh. Okay. So many parts here. I love this question. So yes, I currently represent all people of color and I love it. It was full transparency by default. It was not, I didn't set out to do the agency. It was by default, and now it is 100% by design. It is very much something I look for and something that matters to me. And I think it is. And so I've also simultaneously, like, because of always having majority people of color, like I have represented white people before in the past. It's always been majority people of color. And I totally lost my train of thought. So now it's very intentional. And brands will often reach out to me because they know that I have a diverse roster. So sometimes sometimes they may reach out for a specific, like, oh, we're interested in that, or Laura or Jessica, or like somebody particular they have their eye on. But they will also, I get not tons, but I get enough of requests that are like, hey, we're looking for specifically Latinas. Like I actually have 2 in my inbox right now that are looking for Latino family travel creator and like someone, I forget the other one, but brands will come to me because if it's not me, I only ever recommend and share other influencers of color. So I will always pass along opportunities. I have great relationships with a ton of other influencers who happen to also be of color. So I will message them and be like, hey, are you available? Like, I want to put your name forward for this. And I do it because it's important for me to get more eyes on them, to get more opportunities to them. I think, and I hear this all the time, you know, yes, there's definitely a pay disparity with paying like white influencers versus influencers of color. Full transparency, I can't really say because I've never had the opportunity to compare against someone who's white. So I can't, like, I've never had the same opportunity and had two different influencers. Like, I've always just mostly always presented people of color. But don't hear so much anymore, although I do think it still exists. The first couple of creators I had were all Latinas, and I would always hear, oh, whatever, I'd give them the rate on something. They're like, oh, yeah, we actually have a Hispanic market budget. That's general market budget. They have more money. So, like, we are, you know, they'd have
Oh,
maybe
wow.
a third or half, like a
Wow.
significantly less percentage of whatever the general market budget was, which always used to piss
That's
me off
smart.
because I'm like,
Yeah.
Latinos are general market, Black people are general market,
Right.
Asian people. It's like, how and why brands split it up, or like, oh, Hispanic content, Spanish speaking content, you're just gonna be a little corner over here. And I just want to
Wow.
yell about how short sighted that is for obvious reasons. But it's also, I'm like, companies only care about their bottom line. So if they got on the wagon and understood the buying power of Latinos, of Black people, of boomers, like, even, you know, generational discrimination too. It's like, it's so wild to me that they don't have everyone just, okay, we're looking for this, and then we're going to source talent appropriately and accordingly for, you know, our campaign goals and stuff. So
Right.
yeah, that used to get me so mad. It still does.
Just to even know that that actually exists, and the fact that they're even sharing that, just think of all the things that they're not saying behind closed doors, which sometimes can result to a lot of tone deaf campaigns that you can kind of see going in the forefront. And it's like, okay, this is why you have to have people that think differently than you, look differently than you, to get that perspective. And also not to judge, because you never know what that target market could have the potential to do to change up for your brand and what their buying power possesses. So
Yeah. Yeah. Like my
absolutely.
creator
Yeah.
who's in the travel space, right? That's a perfect example where you see they still have a lot of printed materials, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like they'll have tourism brochures and like destination guides and visitors guides. It's not just about having creators of color in your influencing marketing campaigns, but also, like, are they the people that are on the picture at your hotel, eating at your restaurants, like at your water park, on the plane? And it's, you know, for someone of color to want to go places, like, they will be turned off, I have heard, when they don't see themselves in the marketing, and they don't see generational, you know, families visiting a place when they're like, we travel with our grandma and like grandkids and stuff. People want to see, everyone wants to see that reflected back to them. And it's also on the other side of like where brands and agencies fall short with diversity and inclusion is on the staffing side. You know, I'm not saying it's the responsibility of people of color who work at the agency, like, oh, well, it's on you to make sure the campaigns are diverse, because no, that is not what I'm saying. But if you know, I've been on agency calls for a campaign for Day of the Dead or something that's like specific to a culture. And I'm like, it's a bunch of white people who don't even know what this campaign is about, because the stuff that they're saying, it's like, I'm white. Like, I want to make sure people understand that. Like, it's painful sometimes to listen to be like, oh my gosh, you don't even, like, they're explaining how the Day of the Dead celebration is. And I'm like, my clients have been living this. They have big one room wall altars to their loved ones, and they pan de muerto, like the whole thing. And then I have some 23-year-old guy who's, well, let me tell you about Day of the Dead, and like, this is what happens. And you're just like, oh my God, this is so painful that the guy is totally oblivious to it. But, and again, it's not on the, you know, team member of color responsibility. But if you don't have that diversity like anywhere in, and just pull in influencers of color, like, sure, it's still gonna fall short and potentially be a little tone deaf. Some of them have gone really well, don't get me wrong, but you need the perspective from all angles, pulling the campaign together, understanding. Like, I've had creators Spanish, when they've done Spanish content, fixed, or like their personal story about something cultural changed and edited. And it's like,
Wow.
you can't do that. Like you
Yeah.
cannot do that. Aside from the fact in the agreement it says you cannot alter the influencer's voice,
Right.
regardless of what their ethnicity is. It's like they'll change it because obviously Spanish in Mexico is different from Chile, from Peru, from Puerto Rico, from Colombia. It's like they're like, no, this is how you say it. And I'm like, oh my God, no, 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 that's not how it goes. It's
Yeah.
painful. I could talk about this forever because it also gets me very like fired up. But
Yeah,
yeah,
I can tell. Yeah, because like I said, being focusing on helping influencers with a diverse background is I'm sure like you see a lot of different things. And I mean,
yeah.
even just from being a consumer as well as a marketer and seeing campaigns where, okay, it's Black History Month, okay, it's LGBT, it's like whatever that you're trying to focus on. And it's almost like putting everything in a box when it's like you should be using that influencer's perspective and letting it
Hmm.
kind of lead and tell the story because it is their truth and the genuineness of it. And it
Yeah,
can allow to help others and inspire others who look like them to be able to see
totally.
and just be inspired as well that wow, I found a connection and to be able to connect with that brand. So absolutely. So what motivates you? And I'll segue into something else. I'll be like, what motivates you to keep going, even with like the competition and what other people are doing? Like, do you just tune it out and you kind of just focus in on your own lane, or how do you
Yeah.
stay motivated despite all the different issues that come with it, and all like you've mentioned about being in meetings where people can sometimes
Mm.
change things without letting you know? Like, what keeps you to stay, I guess, sane and focus in to know like, okay, this is what we're going to focus on, this is the
Yeah.
goal? Like, how do you stay motivated despite all that?
I love what I do. I absolutely adore my clients. I am very grateful that like this work chose me, but I still get to choose it every single day. I get to choose my clients. The most amazing person can reach out and be like, oh my God, I can make a ton of money off of them. But it's like, yeah, but if they're not my jam, because I'm so close with people, like my clients and I, we call ourselves an agency family. That is not random. Like we get together, we hang out, we're cheerleaders, we're supporters of everybody. So it's like you really got to fit in that vibe. Um, and it is, I'm just one of those people who loves getting in and rolling my sleeves up and like making things happen. Like it's not necessarily what it is that we did, but it's that we did something, you know? And
Hmm.
so supporting my clients behind the scenes and seeing the impact of getting them a bigger deal or negotiating a better project for them is awesome because like the client wins with this great campaign project. My talent wins because they're psyched about it, so then I win. Um, and that's awesome. Like that's just a great, fun feeling. I am motivated by money because I am, and that's just very helpful in this industry because we work off commission. So like I hustle, but it's how they say like money doesn't buy you happiness, but it'll buy you plane tickets. It's like because it enables me to live the life that I want and do the things that I want to do. But I love what I do, honestly. Like it's so fun. It's such a I'm not a fan of calling it the wild, wild west, but it is kind of some uncharted territories. Like we're definitely all sort of plodding along and kind of figuring it out as we go, which I just genuinely love. I heard a quote once that said, "You're either working on your dream or someone else's." Because I had a friend who would always say, like, it was this run club, and after we had our runs early morning in downtown Denver, he would like point to corporate buildings and be like, "Okay, what if you got $1 million for a year? Like, would you take a corporate job, even if I wasn't making $1 million?" And I was like, "Nope. Just there's no ceiling to my success. There's no limit to how many people I can bring along with me. There's no like boundaries on how creative we get to be and to pivot and to lean in and to explore and to just always continue to do it for the good and like bringing the people along with me that I love." So it's great. I mean, honestly, that's what motivates me is what I get to wake up and do every day. And, I just continue to choose it, which is awesome. It's great.
No, that's amazing. So then that leads me kind of sort of into what charges you up, I guess, like in the morning, like when you wake up, what is something that you just have to do? Like if you don't do this, your whole day is going to be like thrown off. Like what is your like productivity hack to getting things done? Because I know you mentioned you're a very organized person. So
Yeah.
a strategy or tip to staying organized and to keeping your fuel going? Because I know you have to have that energy and just to be able to do what you do so well. So, what is it that is your hack that you like to share?
So I get up at 5:15 every day, and my butt is in the chair at 5:30 every morning. I And this is the time for me to work on my own brand and my own business. I create a lot of content for what I do. You were, poking around my website and saw a lot of the articles and stuff that I write about. I
I
create
love it.
Instagram content. Like, thank you. Thank you. I work
Yeah,
hard at
I
that.
love
So
yeah, no, because I love seeing that because my thing is that people sometimes sleep on having like a website with like actual blogs. And I was just enjoying the fact that there was articles and even just you being on the podcast today, like this is like a way for you to get in touch with my audience and my people that
yeah,
want to be motivated. And they're also looking at personal development and you never know who that may reach next.
totally.
So I feel
Totally.
like to just know that you're not taking it lightly, any type of
Mhm.
digital footprint that can reach a customer or somebody else. And that's how we got connected. I met you and I saw you on Threads. And
Yep.
Threads is something that a lot of people haven't really been messing around with. Like I took a break from it for a moment because I was just like, okay, it doesn't sound like it's going to be like X or anything, but it just seems so genuine, like to be
Yes.
able to find like your target of relatable business women and women in
hmm
business, and not just to leave out men, but I mean just to have your tribe and just
hmm
have where people are actually working towards their goals, like you said, your dream, like you're working on your dream, not necessarily trying to build somebody else's. And I think
Right.
that takes guts and to be around people like-minded because of that law of attraction. It's like you're finding them and it's not by force. It just happens so naturally.
Yeah.
So I definitely think that you can't just stay away from certain platforms because you feel like, okay, I'm not going to like find anything because you're already thinking negative and you're not going to find it
Right.
versus
Exactly. It's going to become
yeah, exactly.
yeah.
It's the mindset part. Yeah.
I,
So
um, I, yeah, I am very committed to building my own brand. Not, again, I feel like it's something that wasn't my idea, but the universe is like, come on, Joanna, you got to do this. And so I feel very much like pulled into it. And now I'm just like leaning in because I love it. Is there are so many, and this is why I love doing podcasts, is because people will influence a manager. What do you do? How do you do it? How do you work? When do I find one? Like, what can I expect of you? People have so many questions. Actually, don't have so many questions. There's basically the same like 7 questions that everyone has about influencer managers. And where do you go to find out? Who do you talk to? Like, how do you learn these things? And so I am very open and very honest and very, try and be very transparent about what I do. And so I really enjoy creating content around what I do in my work and some teachable things about being an influencer, how to say no to a brand collaboration, how to go from gifted to paid, like all the kinds of content I have on my website, how to start a management agency. Like I have tons of people messaging me about that. And so I get up early in the morning and I write and I create content. It is my best time to work on anything. It's like my clearest time. So it's not just when the rest of the world is still kind of sleeping and my clients aren't slipping in my, emails and DMs yet, but it's just my best time to like write and create and build my own brand. And I love the content I write. I get great feedback. People are like, these are exactly what I was looking for. Oh my God. Like people find me and ask me questions. And like, I just love being able to help them and shed some light on it because it isn't anywhere else really, like there are not, maybe someone will have like one article, but a whole sort of treasure trove
catalog.
of information. Exactly. A catalog. It's like, yeah,
Yeah.
I want to create that catalog. And I've got, I don't know, I think 30 some odd articles on there now. And
Yeah,
we,
it
we
makes
at
my
least
job
several.
easier. Yeah,
Yeah, I love
it
it.
makes it easier.
Yeah,
Yeah. So
yeah. So I'm up early for that.
johannavoss.com. Yeah, that's where people can go.
JohannaVoss.com. That's right. Go there.
Yeah. Right. Because you answered so much. And, when not to cut you off, but on Threads, I was just looking and somebody else was just asking about influencer like marketing and influencer manager. So I can't wait for us to release this
Oh, cool.
podcast because like I said, there's so many people like you're about to segue into that are curious that want to know
Yes.
about it. So I mean, the fact that we're able to answer their questions and give them the direction to go into,
Yes.
it just saves so much time too as
Yes.
well.
Yes.
And it's
And I mean,
not a
I'm
waste.
also not afraid. Like, I am not afraid to jump into people's conversations on the internet of people that I do not know, but they're like asking questions about management or like back in 2020 when we kind of everything came to a screeching halt and there was a lot more conversation around race equity and racial discrimination. Like I did a thing on, right, we're all sitting here like nobody's working because all brands are like, what do? We don't know what's happening, right? We're all just sort of twiddling our thumbs. I had posted something on Twitter that was like, feel free to message me. I'll give you feedback on your rates and your media kit. And I still do that. Like it was a bunch of strangers. I just probably had over 100 calls with people because it's helpful information. Because otherwise, people are just like operating in the dark. You know, I see conversations on threads. People are talking about managers. Either they're asking questions or maybe they're talking smack about a manager, and I'm like, hey, I'm a manager. Da, 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 da. Like, let me give you my perspective because people
Right.
don't know. And
Right.
so I am like, how many more people can I talk to this about? Not because it needs to be about me, but how great is it when you actually get an answer to your question and you're like, oh, now I understand, right?
Right.
So I enjoy having these conversations and opportunities to talk about it.
Yeah. So what's next for you? I mean, it sounds like you've pretty much already propelled. You're obviously an expert in industry. You have a lot of wisdom to give and share. And it sounds like you're continuing to do that. Even though we had that one question about your most favorite deal
I know.
negotiation, you don't have to, I don't have to put you on the spot for it because you could just say all of them are your best because it sounds like when someone comes with that much passion, it's really hard to just pick a favorite because they'll show too much favoritism. So I don't want to do that because it seems like all of them have their own unique opportunity and each time. So how I'll rephrase that so you're not showing favoritism is to just say like, does the feeling when you close a deal feel the same way as it did the first time? Or are you just kind of used to it and accustomed to it? Or what's the feeling you get after
Yeah.
you win a deal?
It's still exciting. It's still exciting. Um, Obviously some are more exciting than others. That's just fact. Um, Going back to, when we were talking about like the with Snoop Dogg and the stove, right? The metrics that you track. Sometimes I've had a client be absolutely ecstatic because I'll just text them and be like, hey, you're doing XYZ campaign, $45,000. And they're like, oh, what? Like, that's real money. Like, that's a lot of money. And so the way I work with my clients is for the most part, it's all just on me. Like they don't want to know anything about it until it's done. And I'm like, okay, this is what you're doing. So it's so fun sometimes to be able to like text the client and be like, hey, this is happening, like whatever it is. Because then they're thrilled. So like that's always really cool. And then I've had clients where there's been a ton of excitement um, because it's the brand and because of the project. So maybe it was good money or maybe it wasn't, but just being that person, like my client Jessica um, did something. Oh my God, must have been 2022 now, which is crazy because I feel like it was last year, but I don't think it was. It was the summer of 2022. And she partnered with Lonely Planet and did this super cool. They were doing these like really quick little snapshots around was it Texas Hill Country? I can't remember. But it was like
Your Marfa or like
uh
Austin?
it was but that's the thing. It wasn't like the Austins, the Dallas, the places you already knew. It was like Bandera and like all these other smaller places. And they did this whole like week and a half long trip. And they spent a whole day in the city or the town. And she has already spent so much time there that she was able to be like, let's go here, let's do this, and like show them all these cool places. And for her, that was just like a dream project. She got to basically be, kind of like, hey, I'm Jessica and I partnered with Lonely Planet and I'm so excited to like bring you along on this ride. She was thrilled. Like it was a fantastic project. So sometimes it's that where, she's like, this is a dream project of mine. I can't believe I got to do this. And like, that's really cool too.
Yeah, that sounds exciting. So, anything else you feel like sharing with a guest that we may not have covered or we may not
Oh
had a chance to
gosh.
talk about or it could just be like something that you just feel like, okay, how can I lead them like as far as motivated to be an influencer or like what's something that you feel like is a good tip for them that are wanting to break into the industry, wanting to get brand
Yeah.
deals, like
Yeah.
how can they stay motivated because I know there's a lot of rejection that happens too that I'm sure you've seen. So, how can those out there listening have like this tip to take back with them to be able to
Yeah.
use it in their own lives or in their own content, because we want to make sure that they are able to take these nuggets and go run with it. So what's something you're like, okay, this is
Yeah.
what you need to do now? Like,
So I got a
yeah.
couple somethings here.
Okay.
The first two are I give for anyone who's looking to become an entrepreneur, which if you want to start and become an influencer, you are an entrepreneur. Welcome to the world of entrepreneurship. So follow your gut, trust your gut on saying yes to something, trust your gut on saying no to something, like a person or an opportunity. Like it's okay to, to be like, it just doesn't feel right. Like that's okay to say no, or to know that it's a hell yes without really understanding why. That's also okay. So trust your gut, follow the breadcrumbs. I say this because of my entrepreneurial journey. I wasn't looking to get into start a management agency, or do fractional COO work, but it was just things that people kept asking me about. So it made sense to keep saying yes. And then I'm kind of like the last person of the party where I was like, oh, duh, this is what I need to do. Like everyone else sees the skill set, and I was kind of dismissive of it. So follow those breadcrumbs. Again, it's kind of goes in hand with trusting your gut, because you may be like, well, I don't know where this is going, but people keep asking me about this, or maybe it's to figure out, your niche in the industry of being an influencer. I really want to talk about this, but everyone always asks me about my DIY, like how do I do home projects? How do I use a drill? Like how do I use a, jigsaw? Maybe that's your niche. So like listen to people and follow those breadcrumbs. And then the other thing I will say specific to anyone who's looking to get into influencer marketing, being an entrepreneur is the hardest thing you will ever do. Like hands down guaranteed. You have to be married to this industry or to this business, and you have to be committed to it because it's hella hard. It gets hella boring. At the very beginning, it seems like no one's listening and no one's watching and no one's paying attention. And it's really hard to be like, why am I still doing this? Like 4 people saw my post, 3 people are on my newsletter. Those are the times that you keep on having to persevere because everyone else is starting to drop off. So it is, and also it never gets easier. That is also fact.
I like all of those things, all those nuggets and wisdom is definitely what propels and pushes you forward. And I like how you compare being an influencer to being an entrepreneur, because that's pretty much what you're doing. You're
Mm-hmm.
waking up every day. This is your business. This is your life. This is your brand, and having that
Yeah.
personal brand of what's represented. So if you're really into it and this is what you're standing for and believing in, just because you get 4 likes or 1 like, no matter what, you believe in yourself. And because you believe in yourself, everybody else has no choice
Mm-hmm.
but to believe in it as well. And if
Yep.
you're not going to be invested in pushing out your content, then why should anybody else? So
Yeah,
it makes
exactly.
perfect sense. So again, thank you so much for that, Johanna. And I will see you online on Threads, and I
Congrats.
will, yeah, see the listeners next time on WakesetGO. So thank you guys so much for tuning in.